boy up with her some Rumble views. I appreciate them. Hell, I got the video recording. It's in the background like Kelly Rowland. Shout out to not being able to see the background, but y'all know how we do. Welcome back, King DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. You already know what time it is. It's 10 a.m. on a Sunday. If not, it'll be 6 p.m. Wednesday or 10 a.m. Saturday. Yeah, we did a show yesterday. Did one today. Got one for Wednesday. You know how we do. We keep it popping. Anyways, somebody got kicked out of Colorado, which is our video topic. So let's go ahead and get into it. I know y'all like kicking it with me, but yeah, we gonna kick it, smoke some weed, and talk some shit over videos, right?
Pick a strain, whatever you want, you can get. Indica sativa, never rolling plain Jane. I know some people, if you want, drop 50, we ain't gon' cop any. Little mama got plenty, so many strain, puffing the flame, nothing but dro. One for the brain, one for the body, one for the soul. Running with strange, keeping the party under control. Up, away, flying, how far are we gonna go? Smoke team in the building, got 'em, it's what the deal is. Recognize, coming with Burns, Felix with Filming County boy, got the liquor. Casso was on the fader, Stevie came with the greenery, mixing multiple flavors, whatever you want, homie. Tell me when to say when. How about you and your friends? Come get with me and my friends and keep it real with me, girl. I don't want to pretend like this is a new thing. Really, that's what it's been like.
So one of the biggest states for the good herb is in trouble. Colorado scored a C plus in a recent ranking, disposed of being found to have dangerously high levels of mold and yeast, and 3 weed companies were hit with serious fines, lawsuits, and kicked out of Colorado after their cannabis products were linked to serious liver injuries.
3 cannabis companies have been ordered to stop operating in Colorado. Authorities say their products were linked to health risks that they failed to disclose. Democratic Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser announced he had reached a $400,000 settlement with the manufacturers and distributors of the 1906 brand of cannabis products, along with their co-founder, Peter Barson. Under that settlement, 3 companies, Nuka Enterprises, SEMA Sciences, and Nuka Properties, are being booted from the state. This comes after customers started complaining in 2020, reporting the products were causing liver problems. Weiser says if the companies meet certain conditions down the line, they'll be allowed to resume selling products in Colorado.
Now, this is a big story that broke just last week, and you guys can see how crazy it is. Companies literally being kicked out of state because of some of these reports of liver injuries. Now, liver injuries are very serious, and in a situation where you're actually using some of these products for medical relief, you do not want to end up with an even worse medical problem. Example, liver injuries. Now, according to this article, these 3 companies which manufactured and distributed the 1906 line of products in Colorado beginning in 2016, and these products were actually called Midnight Drops, which is basically a plant-based mixture in a pill form, a sleep aid of sorts. Now, the makers of the product began receiving complaints from consumers in 2020, and there was a notice which was issued which cited potential side effects of cordyralis, a herbal supplement in the Midnight Drops. Despite limited research, the state agencies indicated that the cordyralis rhizome extract may have some connection with liver injury. Now here's the kicker, guys. The companies agreed to stop the production of the Midnight Drops and remove the existing products from the marketplace. However, the product was never removed from the shelves, and the companies continued to sell and make the Midnight Drops. All of this led to the companies settling the lawsuit, which was filed by the state, and agreeing to pay a penalty of $400,000 and agreeing to cease operations in Colorado.
Companies connected to a cannabis-based sleep aid are ending their operations in Colorado. This comes after a settlement and fine to resolve a lawsuit filed by the state. The lawsuit centered around potential side effects in the sleep aid Midnight Drops, which state agencies claim may have some connection with liver injury. The companies paid a $400,000 penalty and agreed to stop operating in Colorado to resolve the lawsuit.
Now, despite the companies being asked to leave Colorado and paying this $400,000 fine, I have a few questions. Are these companies still producing these Midnight Drops? Are they still selling the Midnight Drops? Are they just going to move out of state, set up in another state, and still sell those exact same products? All of these are questions that we need answered. Now, if you guys are wondering why my mouth
We should already know the answer if you have to ask the question. Are they still going to go out of state and do the same thing? Of course they going to do the same thing. They told you a long time ago, when the spot get hot, don't stop, move shop, find another block and start to take it from the top. Yeah, take it from the top. Right back like they ain't cheating. You see what I'm saying? Hell. The
Looks a
fuck
little
is
bit
you
funny.
looking
I
at
had
me
a
for?
dentist appointment this morning and I'm still just a little bit numb. That probably explains why I'm looking like the Wayans brothers from Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. But anyway, that's not the first time that companies for the good herb in Colorado had to settle with the AG. There was another occasion not too long ago where they actually had to settle with the AG because they misrepresented their products. Let's check it out.
Turning to the state capitol now, Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser reaching settlements with two companies accused of misrepresenting their cannabis products. MC Global Holdings accused of misrepresenting the health benefits of some of their hemp products, and Cookies Creative Consulting and Promotions, which sells cookies, accused of misrepresenting the source of their THC infusion. Both companies agreed to pay about $90,000 to the state.
So as you guys can see, a number of cannabis companies are getting pulled up by their socks and forced to pay some of these fines. And it's all because they're not doing what they're supposed to. It's simple stuff, guys. And all of this is leading to lots of folks to call for more inspections at a lot of these Colorado dispos and saying that they need to improve their processes.
Just over a decade ago, Colorado legalized recreational marijuana, and that licensed store you've been buying from may have gone unchecked. A state audit found several issues with work done by the Marijuana Enforcement Division. They're responsible for regulating the industry, including licensing, inspections, and investigating violations of the law. The audit found between fiscal year 2019 and 2022, the division didn't inspect nearly in-person inspections went way down during the pandemic. They've started to go up since 2021, but by this year, the number still hasn't reached pre-pandemic levels. Some of those inspections, including checking if the store was selling to people under 21. The audit found the division didn't do that for 75 stores that were at greater risk of breaking the rules. And whenever a store broke the rules, auditors say investigators didn't pursue disciplinary action consistently.
Now this is something that we've discussed countless times on the channel, and this is why we see lawmakers trying to put in place bans and regulations, or because some of these companies and rogue actors are trying to skirt the laws. Not doing inspections, not doing ID checks, selling to underage kids, these are all problems. And if you have no repercussions, the companies are just going to keep doing it, and obviously the lawmakers are going to be pissed off and try to ban it for everyone. And who loses out? Everyone loses out. It's not just about inspections and audits when it comes to age requirements and checking IDs, but also when it comes to super high levels of mold and yeast. And a lot of the growers are actually being blamed for that. But before we dig into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club, or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code LEGAL. It works on the bundle and the beans.
At 4:30, unsafe levels of mold and yeast.
He always saying to buy me a cup of coffee, but he don't ever show his buy me a cup of coffee link. And does he even have a buy me a coffee link? The last time I looked, I didn't find one, but you know how it goes, because we actually got to buy me a coffee. So shouts out to him talking about the buy me a coffee. Appreciate that part of the game. Letting people know, hey, we are monetized out here, you know what I'm saying? Whether YouTube want to pay us or not, hell, we got ways to get around that bullshit that they talking, just like they just said, hell. There's people getting over on other people anyway, so you know how that goes. Some of y'all don't, but you should know how it goes. Get your EXP up, experience some things, live. Trust the wrong people, and you'll find out real quick, right?
Were discovered at two Colorado Springs medical marijuana dispensaries.
Now the state is recommending those customers throw out the marijuana. KRDO News Channel 13 Scott Harrison is live at one of the affected dispensaries, the Chronic Boutique on Pikes Peak Avenue downtown. Scott.
We spoke with an employee here at this dispensary earlier today, and he says that the marijuana contamination at this particular location is not from the dispensary, but rather from a grow house in Ordway that provides the plants to this dispensary. Let's take you to video now and give you more details about what we learned in this story today. Now, the State Marijuana Enforcement Division says that marijuana flowers passed an initial testing process, but failed a second test. That led to the advisory that was issued because of potentially unsafe levels of mold and yeast, levels that can affect people with allergies or cause infections in people with weakened immune systems.
Now, the crazy thing about all this is that some of the consumers, some of the customers hitting up those dispos have no idea about any of the recalls, the high levels of contamination, or about the products that they're getting. And that's a big problem.
Yeah, well, no, I'm actually quite curious now, so I'm going to have to probably give them a call here in a minute and find out exactly what I did purchase.
So you don't know if you bought anything?
I do not know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I had not heard about the recent health issue.
The second medical dispensary involved was another chronic boutique, formerly in this strip mall on Palmer Park Boulevard. Well, we went by there today and we learned that a new owner has taken over the business and renamed it back in December. Now, the Department of Revenue is asking, as Bart alluded to earlier, that anyone who bought marijuana flowers at either of those dispensaries or the 4 other dispensaries involved throughout Colorado are asked to throw them away or return them to their place of purchase. Of course, we have posted more details about this on our web story right now at krdo.com.
The wild thing about all this, guys, is that eventually they're asking you to either return the flowers or throw it away. But so long after, a lot of folks, when they hit the dispo and get their flower, a lot of times it's not going to last longer than a couple days. So in a situation where a few months pass and then you're asking them to destroy the flower, it's already been consumed. The health risks have already been passed on to the customer. Now, these are stories which we see happening across multiple states. It's not just limited to Colorado, and a lot of people consider Colorado to be a really booming industry, but the truth is, in a recent State of the States report, Colorado actually scored a C+ when it comes to medical herb. Have a look.
Colorado didn't exactly get a
C+.
failing grade, but this C+ came with some harsh notes. The medical marijuana advocacy group Americans for Safe Access says Colorado legislators and Governor Polis presided over the single worst rollback of medical cannabis it has ever witnessed. Martha Montemayor knows what they're talking about.
And we've helped over 15,000 individuals join the medical marijuana registry in the last 13 years.
She runs clinics from Denver to Montrose to help people get their medical cards.
We've had a very difficult year with patients losing access to products that were working well for them in the past.
Montemayor blames the state law in effect last year. The law made it harder for young adults under 21 to get a medical card and restricts how much patients can buy. A new bill she supports wouldn't really change that, but reverses the mandate for an in-person exam and a requirement for doctors to give patients more information about dosage, potency, and products.
It is going to undo all the common sense protections put in place just 2 years ago.
Rachel O'Brien's group helped get last year's law passed. She doesn't believe it's stopping people from getting the care they need, and she doesn't want to see the changes Montemayor is proposing.
We put some rules in place to protect patients and to protect these teenagers who were getting it and sharing it.
No matter where you fall in this debate, the numbers do not lie. Sales overall have gone down. So has the number of medical marijuana patients. If you like this law, it's a sign that it's stopping abuse. If you think the law needs to change, it's a sign that it's hindering access. Either way, the state Senate will start debate on the changes Thursday afternoon.
So even in Colorado, when it comes to the medical industry, some of those restrictions are making it harder for people to get their medical cards. And that's proving to be a barrier to people getting the medicine and the relief that they need. Now, you may be wondering, in a state where rec is already legal, what's the point of a medical card then? Well, there are a few benefits, so let's have a look at those.
Cole, couldn't people who can't get a medical card just use recreational marijuana?
I asked that same question, and the advocate says that there are 3 main benefits to having the medical card. It allows folks who need it who are 18 to 20 to get the medical marijuana as well. They can get a higher potency, and you don't have to pay such a high tax. So the benefits really are there for folks who need the medical help.
All right. Difference.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there you have it, guys. That's a big difference. So there are definitely benefits to medical patients getting their medical cards out in Colorado, especially in a situation where local, state, and county taxes can stack up and cause your medicine to become so much more expensive. And also, if you happen to be between the ages of 18 to 21 and need to access some of these products for medical purposes, then that allows you to do that. But all that said, let me know what you guys think about everything that we've discussed in today's video, from those cannabis companies which which were kicked out of Colorado because of those liver-reported injuries, but also the dangerously high levels of mold and yeast. What do you guys think about all that? Drop it in the comments down below and let me know. Now, in our next story, you guys have surely seen that the government has been shut down, and that means big things for the cannabis industry. So if you haven't seen that, check it out because it's coming up right now.
Shout out to Matt. He be on them topics, boy. You know he like staying up with what's going on and what's cracking. Appreciate him for staying active and putting in the work. Yeah, makes the review videos on my side that much easier. Appreciate the big homie for making me this beat. Yeah, I don't know if he made it for me, but you know, I'm gonna play him more than anybody else because you know, we rock with that Mary Jane.
Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the garden, by the door, in the bedroom, on the floor. Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna
Love how it wants to pause like, nah, don't do nothing else. We can't handle that. What the fuck's up with my computer? It's trying to give me tech problems all over again. Said you're doing so much, corn. So much.
remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the garden, by the door, in the bedroom, on the floor. Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there till the morning light.
Hell already. These motherfucking roaches, boy. Hey, shout out to the roach for the waking day. I don't
always have a place for you to stay. In the garden, by the door.
We might hit 2 or 3. You never know. Hell, might fall asleep. You never know. Yeah.
Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there.
Doing these video reviews. That sounds flavor as fuck to me. Yes, sir. I can do that.
Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the garden, by the door, in the bedroom, on the floor. Remember me when you're far away. I'll always have a place for you to stay. In the middle of the night, I'm gonna be there till the morning light.
And of course, we
Game is
always watch
rigged.
videos about things we like, right?
The Wire is a visceral depiction of a society failing, and it zooms into the most vulnerable and the hand that they've been dealt. The story of Bubbles as one of the series' focal points is so necessary because we often avert our eyes to the homeless. We often avert our eyes to those at the bottom because it's easy to do so. It's easy for us to have clear-cut heroes and villains in stories, but it's hard to sympathize with Kennard or Stringer, even Marlowe. The Wire forces its audience to grapple with these moral qualms. Is Kennard inherently a bad person, an evil child perhaps? Or is he but a symptom of someone like Omar, who is also a symptom of the bigger problem? They all stem from one place: capitalism and the greed of man. In this vein, this is a series that deconstructs
What up, B
the
After B?
American
Good to
dream.
see you. How you
Creator
doing?
David Simon believes that it's two myths that their
Always a
series
pleasure to
breaks
see
down.
you.
The first myth that America preaches is anyone who innovates in some way, anyone who improves on an already existing product, will be rich, as America is the land of opportunity. And the second is that even if you cannot innovate, if you work hard and are committed to being a decent, family-oriented person, there is a place for you. It's a story, as Simon writes, about the decline of American society and the prospect of two Americas that are bonded under one general reality. It's capitalism and how the failures and the false promises of capitalism, or the game, exist in these two realities, this division between the permanent, often black underclass and the rest of the world. In the 5th season, Dookie asks Cuddy, "How do I get from here to the rest of the world?" This idea could be explored through D'Angelo Barksdale. Dee's story opens up with his release from prison. The way D'Angelo is spoken of and how he acts upon his introduction, there is a sense of recklessness to him, childishness even. He talks about business in the car when he's not supposed to. He gets bailed out by his uncle when he killed a man. He seems like just another heartless criminal, a monster even. But as we learn more about him, like when he sheds tears for Gant and his family, or his kindness to Wallace, there is a level of vulnerability that Dee has walled up in order to be a player in the game. However, when Dee gets further caught up in the schemes of the game and gets arrested, he's forced to take a 20-year prison sentence for a mistake that Avon made. Dee had been nothing but a loyal soldier, a loyal servant to the family, and this is his reward. Though
20
before he can
years.
accept the sentence, the police offer him a way out. The entire season, Dee has yearned for a chance to start over, to start fresh. He wants to breathe, he says. Dee claims that he was freer in jail than he was outside of it. We learn that D'Angelo is the grandson of Butch Stamford, a big-time Baltimore drug lord. His uncle, of course, is the Avon Barksdale. His own mother introduced him to the organization from such a young age. He was born into all of this, sentenced to it from birth. D'Angelo never had a chance or a choice. And now he wants what Wallace wanted, a fresh start and a chance to breathe. Though before anything could happen, he is persuaded by his mother to stay loyal to the family, and he accepts the 20-year sentence. In prison, Dee begins his journey towards his new path, accepting his past sins and actually being able to breathe, only to get murdered, a hit ordered by his own uncle's right hand. Time and again, D'Angelo was led to believe that his loyalty, his hard work, his commitment to his family would bring him somewhere. There's that myth, right? But there is no redemption for D'Angelo. From birth, he never had a real chance. These myths trick us into believing that there aren't any forces greater than an individual. This idea of the permanent underclass chokes those at the bottom. It strangles their dreams and their desires. Eric Olin Wright writes that underclass as a segment of society marginalized by the capitalist economic system, which excludes people economically, leaves people structurally disadvantaged due to their limited access to stable employment and resources. William Julius Wilson takes a different approach to this idea, emphasizing the importance of social and spatial factors in the emergence of the underclass, where concentrated poverty in urban areas, coupled with a decline in job opportunities in inner cities, led to the social isolation and deprivation experienced by people living in this class, the underclass. Together, these forces leave many American and urban centers trapped in the cycle of poverty. not by their own doing or moral failings, but due to the many systemic pressures that continue to allow these people to suffer. From Marx's labor theory of value, poverty exists only because of the, quote, exploitation and the impoverishment class, capital, and labor, not a static category of income, education, occupation, and lifestyle. What has happened to the black people of America is more than just a division. It is a calculated attack. It's not happenstance that unemployment in black youth has plummeted. In fact, it's that semi-skilled and unskilled jobs are relocated to the suburbs, out of the inner city. The few jobs that are given do not pay enough to survive, so essentially it becomes unpaid labor. It's not happenstance that drug and crime rates grew. No, it's that those who live in poverty must have the money to buy food, clothes, childcare, and healthcare to become moral, upstanding citizens. They must be given the opportunity. One of the reasons The Wire works so well is because it accurately depicts morality in this series as something that can easily be warped through desperation, through the, quote, material reality. Frank Sobotka is another of these tragic characters. Characters who have this desperation that poverty brings. Frank only joins the drug trade to try to save the poor and uses that money to help out those in need in their union who are slowly losing their jobs to the city's development. And this second season opens the world up to the larger matters at play here. The Greeks are smuggling these drugs through the ports, the very drugs that the streets are killing each other over. And yet they are never pursued, not by the police or the FBI. Frank feels as though he has no choice but to, quote, accept the dominant systemic logic, using the proceeds of the smuggling operations to bribe politicians to save their ports. And all of this comes crashing down. Sobotka fails and ends up sacrificing himself for his nephew, all because he wanted to help. The American myth stated that if you put your head down and you work and you are committed to being a family-oriented individual, you will be enough in this society. That was a lie. Frank was forced to look to outside sources to save his people, and he failed because of it. In the grand scheme of things, people are numbers. They are tools to produce and to create. Once their worth can be replaced, once they are no longer needed, they will be shelved and discarded like garbage. Just like the children of Baltimore, just like the port workers, just like the homeless. These are all people to be exploited. Only those who understand that the game is the game will survive. It's a game of compromise, right? You sacrifice your own values and morals to climb the ranks, or you remain knee-deep in the quicksand that is capitalism. You'll fall slowly and slowly until there's nothing left but the greedy upper class feeding on the carcasses of the poor. Stringer Bell is another victim to American myths. The first myth in his case, the myth of creation and innovation. Stringer desires to ultimately leave the drug game, leave the streets, and invest in properties and legitimate businesses. Have his money work for him, he says. String goes to college, takes economics classes, and he uses that to try to improve and further understand the business. And he also uses it to make plans for the future. In the words of Flamant, he tries to, quote, rationalize the drug game by applying orderly rules of governance and market logic.
I bleed red. You bleed green.
That would ultimately be his undoing. His belief and trust in the system, in an American myth that capitalism, that innovation will make him rich, has him trust people like Clay Davis, people who steal his money. Stringer is one of the few who's had a glimpse of the rest of the world, and he is trying to reach it, but he doesn't recognize the larger forces at play. The more and more these characters place their faith in capitalism as an honest, clear-cut path to get where they desire, the quicker they end up losing everything they once had. They've placed their faith in the American myth of pulling oneself up by one's bootstraps in the drug world and in the world of capitalistic institutions, two worlds that don't follow any rules to begin with. Stringer believes the game in the underclass is the same as the game within the rich. Capitalism has no such rules, and Stringer found that out personally. The game once had rules, a level of respect and community, rules that Omar and even Avon followed. East and West Siders being able to put their differences on hold for community events like basketball tournaments or barbecues. They had the Sunday packed. To quote Bunk,
as rough as that neighborhood could be, we had us a community.
But this sense of community is lost as the violence in these neighborhoods worsen. Marlowe is a byproduct of the game. These rules of the game are slowly disregarded because people have become increasingly more desperate. And kids of the street now grow up seeing the game as the only way to live and survive. They see the Barksdales, the Prop Joes of the world, and glorify them. No one sees Avon and Stringer as victims of the game. Marlowe sees the iconicity, the weight these legends carry, the weight their names carry. Everybody knows Omar or Avon. He wants Marlowe to be added to that list. He wants to wear the crown. This life is all he knows, and he doesn't see anything past it. Baltimore is so far gone, so far away from everything else, that he does not even desire the rest of the world. Marlowe is but a creation of capitalism. His laser-focused mission on the money, even if it leaves a trail of fire behind him, is a consequence of the world he was raised in. It's what makes him a, quote, natural businessman. His brutality and lust for the crown is a consequence of society's neglect. Him, Chris, Snoop, they are a new generation of men, of people without a code. There is no code for the corrupt. There is no code in capitalism. That is why they win. Marlowe understands that. As much as we can point to the newer generation lacking a sense of decorum, there isn't any honor in the way any of these institutions operate. The legal system, the police system, in many ways, they are worse than the criminals they pursue. Etheridge writes that in this series, the police and the drug organizations are similar in the way that they nurture and then consume and destroy individuals. McNulty is often juxtaposed with D'Angelo throughout the first season. I find McNulty to be a fascinating character in this series. He has an incredibly long list of flaws, but what I am most interested in is the anger that he often talks about when he works with the homicide unit. It's an anger that he can barely understand or explain, and to me, I've always seen it as this growing frustration towards the institutions. By the time the fourth season rolls around and McNulty is working as a beat cop, he's instantly happier because he rarely had to interact with the judges, the feds, or any external system. There's a sense of comfortability in being a complicit cog in the machine, and at that level, he's able to turn a blind eye to it all. His home life improves tremendously, he stops drinking, he settles down with Beatty, but in homicide, he is not only hands-on with all the different corrupt services, but he also has to face down the consequences of these greedy organizations. He looks eye to eye with kids like Wallace, with Bodie, people like Omar. So he becomes a volatile wrecking ball in his personal life as a way to cope with the fact that he truly has no power. McNulty has been nurtured by this work and then destroyed by it. He, Lester, Bunk, Daniels, Bunny Colvin are juxtaposed with Rawls, Valchek, and Burrell, two sides of the same coin. They are all rough around the edges, and each have their own motives. The former, though, have a moral anchor that grounds them, a moral obligation to the people and to the communities they live in. And even if it forces them to make harder decisions, if it forces them to do extra work, they are dedicated to being decent police. They are the ones trying to make actual change happen. They are mortals trying to take down gods, whereas the latter have proven that they have the capability to be decent police, but instead they are self-interested. Climbing the ranks are their only goals. The entire third and fourth season is the Baltimore police and their attempt to, quote, juke the stats, with Rawls at the head of this operation. But their reasoning for being such selfish individuals is rather simple. These lawyers, policemen, politicians, even the drug kingpins, all of these institutions prey on violence and poverty and actively encourage it because it brings them money. The institutions are the real winners. For the rich to exist, they must exploit the unpaid labor of others, of the poor. That's the game in a nutshell. Everybody's got their hand in someone else's pocket, Frank Zabaka says. But Burrell himself says that this is Baltimore. The gods will not save you. You have to find a way to fight them. This is the very same quote that Omar has.
But the game is out there, and it's either play or get played.
That is why Burrell, Rawls, Valchek, Royce do what they do. The game becomes especially cruel once characters become aware of its presence. When they become aware of their own powerlessness in it. When they become aware of who they are and their complicity in all of its evils, their potential questions about their own morality evaporates when compared to what these institutions have done. The power of the system is far too grand, far too embedded into society for any individual to have a real impact on it. So individuals become twisted and warped to reap as much as possible materialistically, even if it costs them their own morals and values. That's the Ondas and the Greek, Carcetti. They've all won, but look at the type of people they are. One scene that will always stick with me is the cross-examination between Levy and Omar. Omar is called a parasite of society, leeching off the drug game. To it, Omar replies, "I've got my shotgun, you've got your briefcase."
So in the game though, right?
Everyone loves Omar. He is lauded among fans as a mythical hero. I love Omar, my favorite character by far.
Omar was
His
alright,
moral
but
complexity
Levy was that
is one of
dude
my favorite
apparently.
aspects
I
of
ain't
his
noticed
character.
that part, right?
His morality is created through desperation, but he also has a code. The
I
Wire will
dropped that
always
G
ground
pack,
those
same
who
as
fly
his
too
lawyer
close
though.
to the sun.
You
It
got a
will
case?
always remind
Yeah,
its
I mean
audience
50,000.
of the true gods. He, much like Burrell and others, understands that in order to survive, and in his case, carry some sort of code with him, he has to become a parasite, profiting off the drug game that has killed so many others. He is both victim and offender, and his death is a consequence of his own doing, of his own creation. Omar's livelihood, his schemes, his plans, had Tasha killed, they had Brandon killed, and ultimately created Kanar.
Yo, my turn to be Omar!
Things that were never his intention, of course, but his morality is not without question in this series, much like every single character. But ultimately for Omar, like so many others, capitalism has created his environment and it has fostered his desperation. He is lauded because of his humanity, despite his environment. His remarkable death just shows us that even the mighty Omar is not bigger than any institution. And speaking of institutions, there's one more demographic, one more institution that is highlighted in the 4th season that ended up being my favorite season of The Wire, the children and the schools. In the 4th episode of The Wire, after Wallace tips Stringer about Omar's boyfriend, we see Wallace's life in a squatter apartment. The 14-year-old is the oldest in their home. The way they live is jarring. 5 kids to a room. Wallace wakes them up and they each get a bag of chips and a juice box for breakfast. Wallace doesn't even go to school anymore. Once he steps outside, he sees the tortured body of the boy he ordered to kill. This is what these kids are born into, the reality of their everyday lives. A few episodes later, Wallace is gunned down inside the very apartment we watch him wake up in. On a different show, Wallace would have gone down to his grandmother's, he would have transferred schools, and he would have gotten that chance to breathe, to live, to be brilliant as Dee saw him. But this is The Wire. In this America, making it to the rest of the world is rare. Your fate is essentially sealed from the day you're born. By the end of this series, the only corner kid who still stands from the beginning of the series was Poot. Capitalism has made it so that the road to the
shooter though,
rest
man.
of the
He
world,
was a shooter.
the road to the other
He just didn't
America,
shoot with
is
Buddy
a
that
road
night
that
because it was
feels like it
Chris
doesn't
Snoop.
even exist on their side.
What up, Sue? How you
These
doing? Good to
people
see
are
you.
abandoned
Hopefully you
at
have a
every
nice
level.
day.
And The Wire's 4th season, with Dookie, Michael, Randy, and Naaman, really hammers home this feeling of determinism that starts from their birth. Dookie is a brilliant kid, and with confidence instilled into him by Prez, he even gets bumped to the 9th grade. At home, though, all of his family are either drug addicts or alcoholics who use everything that belongs to him, and they even sell his clothes. By the 12th episode, his family gets evicted, forcing him to stay with Michael. Later in the series, he becomes homeless when he can't stay with Michael anymore. Michael Lee is forced to take care of his younger brother, while his mother, an addict, uses all the money they have for groceries on drugs. Michael is a very intelligent kid, but this is his reality. When his sex-offending stepfather shows up, he turns to the street for help, which ends up being his indoctrination into Marlowe's gang. Michael becomes a stone-cold killer. Randy is the orphan, living with a strict foster mother. His naivete gets him to expose to the police information about Lex's murder. Information that he was given involuntarily. As revenge, his house gets burned down and he is later put into a group home because of the failings of that system. Naaman's mother pressures him into becoming the man that Wee-Bey was. When he shows that he isn't built for the game, he begins to cry over it. Delonda challenges his masculinity constantly. She sees him as the man of the house now, and for him to prove to her, and to his father, and to himself, that he is indeed a man, he has to go and sell drugs, to be a corner kid. He has to provide for his family at 14 years old. On top of all that, these kids have to go to school. These classrooms are overpopulated, the schools are underfunded, the teachers are underpaid, and they are forced into moral conundrums created by the system. Either they sacrifice their jobs and genuinely socialize and teach these kids real, applicable lessons, or they follow the inapplicable curriculum, bore these kids to death, and ensure they reach the passable score of 30%, so they keep their livelihood. 30%, so the state can say these schools are improving. Leave no child behind, right? Moreover, the season introduces a social work program that Bunny Colvin's a part of, where the kids who are potential violent offenders are segregated from the rest of their peers to socialize them to the point of being in a classroom once again. The fact that these kids need to even be taught these things means that at home, they are not getting the attention or the love required. Their needs from the get-go are not being met. A lot of these kids are physically, sexually, and mentally abused, or they have to deal with addiction plaguing their home. They then disrupt the classroom because of their troubled home lives, and the teachers then neglect these kids because they can't spend entire days reprimanding a few students. As a result, many of these children gain a harsh view of themselves. They know their teachers have no faith in them, so they
that was
lose
on
faith in
HBO. You can show that shit on HBO, but YouTube won't be like, what the fuck, Mr. Harper?
Many of these kids feel
We're
as
gonna have
though
to
they'll be
restrict
dead in
this
a few
video.
years, or at most
Yeah,
become
that's why they
corner
didn't
kids
zoom
or
in on what
soldiers for
really
local
happened with that
gangs.
scene.
And the saddest part about it all is that they are not wrong. Randy, Michael, and Dookie.
Oh no, that was not a slap. She went up to that girl and cut that shit out of her face. It looked like a slap. That's why I said they edited it to where it looked better than what it was. Because yeah, she actually hit her with a $150. Yeah, that's the East Coast. They play with them razors. She cut the hell out of that girl.
Prez can't even save one. All of these kids were talented or adept at something.
That wasn't no damn woman. She was 12 years old. Cut the shit out of the chick.
Businessman, Naaman the Talker. Only one made it out. He's simply one of the lucky ones. The permanent underclass is so restrictive that the only way to truly escape that sector is either by being supremely talented at something that can take you out, sports being the most common, or by being given a lifeline. Naaman had that in Bunny Colvin. Every child deserves this opportunity. Cuddy's response to Dookie is that he has no idea how to get to the rest of the world. We go through 5 seasons of Baltimore drugs. Avon, Stringer, Marlowe, Prop Joe, all off the streets. Yet the drugs continue to flow as if nothing happened. Homicides will be back up. Michael is the new Omar. Dookie is the new Bubbles. It's cyclical at this point. There is no growth, no improvement, because that is the game. Simon likens this series to a Greek tragedy in which the gods are the institutions, gods who are indifferent to those who are simply caught in the crossfire. The Wire is not a drama about individuals rising above institutions to triumph and achieve redemption and catharsis. It is a drama where those institutions thwart the ambitions and aspirations of those they perpetually exist to serve. It is a drama where individuals with hubris enough to challenge this dynamic are invariably mocked, marginalized, or crushed by forces indifferent to their efforts or to their fates. It is a drama where truth and justice are often defeated as deceit and injustice are rewarded. McNulty, Lester, Bunny Colvin, Frank Sabatka, Carcetti, even Stringer and Prop Joe, they all have the hubris, the belief that maybe they could break through, maybe they could change or innovate the system. Maybe they could help. Whether it was by solving the big case, bolstering the power of the working class, or even having the right intentions and goals as mayor. None of them were even able to dent the system. Some of them got caught up into the myths and lies of America. Lester once said, "A case where you show who gets paid behind all the tragedy and fraud, where you show how the money routes itself, how we are all vested, all of us complicit." I could die happy. But in this series, like in life, the institution will always overpower the individual. Lester, McNulty, Daniels, Colvin, again, they were mortals trying to take down gods. They are never able to ride off into the sunset, exposing the greedy underbelly of their city. They instead ride off into the sunset without their jobs. Omar will never get his revenge or his peaceful ending. His own livelihood gets in the way of that. He ends up as a misidentified body in the coroner's office. Bodie's loyalty as a soldier is all for naught in the end. For us, the audience, this happened just a season ago. Maybe a year, 2 years have passed in the series. But his innocence is lost. Since he was born. Did he ever really have it? Did any of these kids ever really have a chance?
Lord knows we got a gang of shit going on these days. Hell, that's why I let you know.
At least in the end, the one consolation we do
you
have
be thinking out your moves out here, right? Definitely gotta think about your moves. Of course, we got some more TV.
Hey everyone, another week in the books. We welcome you into our latest Trade to Black. I am your host, Shad Dales, and this is TDR's weekly recap of the biggest international developments in cannabis. Busy week it was. Today's podcast is presented by Prohibition Partners. They're the global authority on cannabis intelligence. If you're serious about understanding how regulation and markets are evolving worldwide, you need Prohibition Partners in your corner. If you want to learn more, visit prohibitionpartners.com. All right, let's get into our latest TDR Trade to Black podcast, our weekly recap of the biggest developments in the international side of the cannabis industry. Let's first begin this week in Germany. They published its first official review since legislation began back in April of 2024. The findings are cautiously encouraging. The legal market is slowly gaining ground. The illicit market, signs of decline. Importantly, there's been no clear increase in youth consumption or health emergencies tied to cannabis use, so that's promising. But regulators flag challenges. THC levels remain high, enforcement varies widely region to region, and cultivation clubs are struggling to scale. So the takeaway here, Germany's reforms, they are working, but the rollout remains uneven. So more to develop in Germany. But like I said, it is promising. Next up, let's now move to Spain, where medical cannabis could finally be approved in the coming weeks. This is big. The plan would allow oils and extracts for conditions like epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, chemotherapy side effects, and chronic pain. Prescriptions will come from specialist doctors, and patients will only be able to access medicine through hospital pharmacies. While it is progress, patient groups argue that rules are still too narrow, leaving many without meaningful access. So it looks like the medical narrative is picking up across the world. Meanwhile, in Lisbon, Portugal, the PTMC 2025 conference made headlines. Experts agree Portugal's cannabis sector has hit an inflection point. Why? Well, there's regulatory delays, compliance scandals, and cultivation challenges have slowed growth. Regulators are pushing for greater transparency, professionalism, and innovation to restore trust. So Portugal's message, evolve or risk losing its leadership status in global cannabis. This country is one of the originals when it comes to cannabis. And speaking of originals, now a message from our good friends over at Morgan & Morgan. There's a reason investors get excited when a stock splits and suddenly feels twice as valuable. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Think about it. When you're investing, you want the right team in your corner. The same is true if you're injured and dealing with an insurance company. And that is where Morgan & Morgan comes into the equation. Why? Well, they got more than 1,000 attorneys and over 100 offices nationwide. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years. And their track record, get this, it's hard to ignore. Here's what I mean by that. One example, in Florida, a client was offered just $350,000, but walked away with $12 million. That would help the portfolio. In Pennsylvania, another client turned $650,000 into a $26 million offer. That's a 40x return. One more Pennsylvania client got $29 million after the insurer offered only $500,000. And in Florida, get this, someone received $20 million when the last offer on the table was literally zero. Think about that. So in total, Morgan & Morgan has recovered more than $25 billion for over 500,000 clients. That's like compounding wins in your portfolio every single year. So when you hire them, it's like bringing in a legal army that has your back. Because if you're injured due to someone else's negligence, you deserve to be paid. And let's be honest, not all law firms are created equally. Choosing the wrong one can cost you just like choosing the wrong stock can. So with Morgan & Morgan, get this, their fee, it's free unless they win. You can start your claim right now by clicking the link in the description or by scanning this QR code on your screen with your phone. At the end of the day, if you want what you deserve, make sure you go in with the right team by contacting Morgan & Morgan today. Now, let's get back to the rest of our video. And staying in Europe, Brussels is preparing a new EU toolkit to guide member states in creating adult-use cannabis frameworks. The goal is to reduce regulatory fragmentation across Europe while respecting national differences. It shows the EU is now recognizing that adult-use reform is no longer hypothetical, and indeed, it's happening, which again is good. All right, let's now shift across the ocean into Latin America. In Uruguay, the leader of the country's medical cannabis program admitted regulation came late, but laid out new strategies to expand patient access. The focus now is scaling production and ensuring safe, consistent supply. Over in Chile, thousands marched through Santiago for the annual Cultivate Your Rights demonstration. The protest marked 20 years of activism with calls for legalization, recognition of user rights, and an end to criminalization. That sounds familiar in a lot of different places. Now let's move over to Asia Pacific. In Australia, with a key Therapeutic Goods Administration consultation deadline looming, patients are being urged to share their personal stories. Advocates fear without real patient voices, new rules could create more barriers instead of better access. Meanwhile, over in Thailand, a new team, Charn Virakul, the architect of the country's 2022 decriminalization, is now the prime minister. Cannabis industry sees his leadership as a chance to stabilize regulations and rebuild investor confidence, though resistance remains from those pushing for stricter control. Land set aside for legal cannabis cultivation growing from 616 hectares to now 1,347. Over 1,400 farmers are now participating, many producing the traditional now on the way. The plan would regulate cultivation, processing, and export with hopes of boosting economic growth while keeping diversion out of the illicit market, which again is good. So to quickly recap, from Germany's reform progress to Spain's long-awaited medical program to Morocco's expansion, it's clear global cannabis is moving forward, but let's face it, unevenly. So this is this week's international recap presented by Prohibition Partners, delivering global cannabis intelligence you can trust. As usual, if you like this breakdown, give us your feedback and leave your comments below. Make sure to give it a like, smash on that bell for all notifications, and make sure to subscribe to us here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. That's it for this week's international news. Once again, I'm your host, Shad Dales, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.
Y'all know, go check out the Green Table podcast again tonight because it's Sunday. Bro was live for like 5 hours the other Sunday. I was like, shit, he going in the bag tonight.
Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I spend the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year, and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready. So mad, cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all Steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I spend the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready to clash. Yeah, graduated from the streets at the top of my class. You want the warden, let's get it, I told you I live it, all you had to do is just ask. I know before I was chilling, just trying to get millions now, all of that shit in the past. I take it up to the ceiling, however you willing, just so that you ready for class. Run down, I do this shit with no mask. If they won't call it a race, we gon' lap them. Cry like a baby when you get back at them. They here for the now, but they never gon' last. Why? Slow through my life like a turtle, but you get too close and I'm ready to snap. Rules to the game and they all universal. If you break a rule and you never come back. Living my life, I'm just chilling. Big plate, I'm gon' eat, they gon' eat out the trash. Once they find out what clown gotta leave out of town and you never come back. I sit around many counters, I'm loving the sound that it make when they get to a stack. And I show nothing but love, but if you a hater, then fuck ya, I know I so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. In the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready to clash.
100K play, honey bun K, you don't want smoke with this right here, know what you say, swing by your way, get caught in my headlights like dear, watch what you say, don't become prey, internet niggas is so damn weird, I'm from the Bay, he from upstate, told you before that this all flow, no sick, no suit, big business, no suit, sedan truck, no coupe, long leg room, big shoes, mirror crop my move, all my ops is food, all my ops was fools, hardcore like ice cubes, always woke, no snooze, all this smoke, no booze, all good days, no blues, except for what I got in pocket, cause you know I'm gon' get it. Leave me alone with your home, fuses get blown, cause I'm gonna grow in it. I stay with them plans, you stay with them zans, so you might be gone in 4 minutes. Don't blame me for all of your goals unachieved, you just a whole nigga.
Why they so mad? Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready so mad. Cause they see me on the come up, I'm just getting started, I didn't even get in my bag. Man, I won't think with you niggas, but y'all steady hating, don't talk about popping no tags. I spin the block cause I'm patient, come back in the year and that check that you wrote to get cash. You wanna smoke with the demon, well now you done seen it, I hope that you ready to clash.
So in today's show, we got massive news as a Florida court blocks police from using the smell of herb alone to search vehicles. And recently, we told you guys about a proposed tax hike over in Michigan. And this morning, Michigan lawmakers approved a whopping 24% tax on the good herb. An American basketball player faces a potential death penalty over medical herb in Indonesia. All that in today's show. First, let's start off in Florida because this is big news.
Police in Florida can no longer search your car just because they say it smells like cannabis. A state appeals court just reversed its earlier ruling, saying changes to marijuana and hemp laws mean the odor is no longer proof of illegal activity. Judges cited Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches and seizures. The decision stems from a Hillsborough County case where a car search based on smell uncovered marijuana and other drugs.
Now let me explain to you guys why this is big news, and let me get it in before anyone goes crazy in the comments. I do not condone any intoxicated driving, drinking and driving, or smoking and driving. That should not be done. But that said, in the past, police have used the smell of herb in car searches to pull people over and also just to harass people. And sometimes it may lead to other things that they're definitely not supposed to have, but in other situations it's definitely just an abuse of power. And in a situation where more and more states are becoming legal and getting on board with the good herb, the smell alone should definitely not be used alone as a standalone reason to search a vehicle. Now, if there are other things like the tints are too dark or a busted headlight, registration is expired, something like that, then that's a whole nother story. But just to pull someone over and say they were driving past and I smell something funny, and guys, trust me, that happens. I've seen enough body camera footage.
To Florida now, where state law has ruled law enforcement cannot search your car based only on the smell of marijuana. The district court issued an opinion overturning a lower court's decision that upheld the plain smell doctrine. This rule has long permitted the smell of marijuana to be used as a probable cause to search a person's car. The court said while that made sense in the past, the state's current laws have fundamentally changed, referencing the legalization of hemp and medical marijuana in Florida. The ruling was met with some pushback, with some warning the ruling could undermine road safety.
Now this is pretty interesting, and even though it may seem like a massive win, there's certain counties
Alright,
and
beat
certain
beat.
places
Hopefully
in
I'll
Florida
make it
that
by
may not
Tuesday to check
necessarily
you out.
accord to that ruling, and I'll show you guys in a bit.
Depends on
But let's
what
dig in
time
a
I
little
get
bit
off
more
work,
to see
'cause
what this ruling
same
actually
fucking
means.
time in
Yeah,
this
Police Chief
life.
Rick Hawthorne from here in Gulf Breeze says while this may make life a little bit more difficult for their officers, he says nothing for them is really going to change. The Florida Appeals Court cited the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution, which protects against unnecessary searches and seizures when they made their decision on Wednesday. Florida law enforcement now needs more than just a smell to search your car.
Things have changed in the state of Florida. We now have medical marijuana cards. We have different forms of marijuana that are legal versus illegal, and you can't make that determination based on smell alone. So they have a good justification for changing their reasoning because the state of affairs has changed.
9 other judges joined and agreed with the ruling. Just one disagreed. Judge Craig Valenti. He wrote changes over the past decade to allow medical marijuana and hemp products did not wholesale decriminalize the possession of marijuana. Valenti then pointed out safety concerns related to driving while impaired.
It's something that I think's been coming for a while.
Chief Rick Hawthorne with Gulf Breeze Police says the ruling doesn't change much for them.
I don't think it's going to change much. Most agencies right now probably do the odor plus rule, which is you smell the marijuana, but now you have to find other indications that there's something illegal going on.
Chief Hawthorne believes this will be challenged in the higher courts.
I'm almost positive this will go to the Supreme Court. But, you know, with the way legislation's going, trying to pass, you know, making marijuana legal and everything, you know, who knows what'll happen.
So for a lot of those police officers over in Florida, they say it's business as usual. Nothing is actually going to change a whole lot for them. And for certain places in Florida, it actually means nothing changes at all.
So a Florida court just ruled that the smell of marijuana is no longer a good enough reason for a cop to search your car, which sounds huge and it sounds like a big deal, but in reality, Palm Beach County won't be affected by this. They have their own rules here, and that does not apply unless the Florida Supreme Court decides to take it up. And we just spoke with a criminal defense attorney who says another reality would be if a cop feels like they should search your car, they'll probably find a different reason to do so.
So as I said earlier, police would probably find some other reason to pull you over if they really wanted to. Now here's an example of someone who actually found themselves in this very situation. Check it out.
It's a case that started in Hillsborough County. Daryl Williams was on probation and riding passenger in a car when a deputy pulled it over for not making a complete stop. The deputy then said he smelled marijuana.
And I've handled many cases where a search was deemed lawful based solely on the smell of marijuana.
They found marijuana and other drugs, and Williams was sent back to prison. But on appeal to Tampa Bay's 2nd District, judges overturned his conviction, saying for pot, its mere odor can no longer establish that it is immediately apparent that the substance is contraband, because it could be legally prescribed.
If they're lawfully able to transport it, it shouldn't be the basis alone to be able.
And that right there goes back to why you gotta have you a medical. Because at the end of the damn day, if you got a prescription, hence I have a prescription. You know, I've been on top of my medical game because that's why I got my plants going. And we ain't gonna talk about that because you know there's an NDA behind them right now, so we ain't gonna talk about all that. But anyways, yeah. Can't be out here without no fucking medical benefits because then they can't fucking deny you your rights. Sorry, officer, I do have a right. I got a prescription for this. That's the only thing I'm gonna be telling people while I'm out traveling. I got a prescription for this. You better get the fuck up out of my face talking about some weed in my car. Of course there's weed in my car. Hell. It ain't nothing close by me, but there's something in the car. I mean, shit, I ain't smoking while I'm driving, because we don't do that. We do pull over and smoke out the car, then I still have to drive, because, you know, at some point I'm sober enough to start back driving, right? Right. We'll take a break, pause for the cause, right? It's called traveling. Car still gonna smell like weed because I'll be
To
smoking weed in here.
actually effectuate a search on a vehicle.
Now you all see how crazy that is. The police will pull you over even for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign. So they will literally find any reason to pull you over. So even though it's a little bit of a win, the police will still find a reason to pull you over. So you guys just gotta be really careful. So despite headlines like these looking really great, this is why we try to show you guys what both sides are saying so you guys can come to the bottom line and make an educated decision. Now recently we told you across a lot of states. We've seen over in California, they also tried to hike the tax up to almost 25%. And what also seems to be a trend is this government shutdown. A lot of you guys know the federal government is currently shut down. One side is shutting the government down because they're not getting what they want. And that's pretty much what we're seeing over in Michigan as well, as the Michigan House Speaker also. Now just let that sink in, guys. He wants those taxes to be increased. Otherwise,
Michigan taxes are set to go up for marijuana wholesalers starting in January. That is changes to the proposed state. She talked to a local dispensary owner to see what this could mean for them.
Business is booming. It seems that year after year, we're seeing more and more growth.
Sean Evans is a bud tender at Herb Cannabis in Monroe. Wholesale tax on marijuana from 15% to 24% as part of the state's budget.
Almost looking at doubling what the taxes are already. So you raise taxes and now profits are gone.
Michigan State Representative William Brooks says the estimated amount of money to come from this increase is $420 million. And where is it going to? Brooks says directly to the road funding plan.
I think it right sizes that industry, when compared to other states. And I don't think it's outlandish to.
Knowing the roads ain't gonna be fixed because it takes years to fix the roads apparently. How long have you drove over the same pothole in a bad neighborhood? The road funding it was high because they increased taxes on weed high, and we don't deal with black market because we got a legal market. You know what I'm saying? We can go to the dispo and get something good, or I can grow something good at home. Shouts out to the indoor cultivators. You need a consultation, book your boy. You know what I mean? We'll send you the whole setup. Hell, I might even fly out. Yeah, I like to get flew out too, you know what I mean? And make sure whoever you trying to hook me up with, she right though. Yeah, because we are single and doing our thing as a independent person in America. Shout out to Team Deepwater Cultivating. We do something sometimes. Hell, trip to Vegas on the way maybe. Hell, I might just go to a Tech 9 concert. Who cares?
To say that this is, we're going to be in that top third of taxation on this product.
In that comparison to other states, Michigan's retail tax is 10% to Ohio's 30%. And although retail tax will remain the same, here's how the increase in wholesale tax could still affect the price customers see.
It's not a tax on the customer, but really it will be. What we are going to end up seeing is still a raise in prices to the customer. Because that's exactly what it's going to be. Increased prices for the consumers. Because even if they raise taxes on certain things on the back end, such as transport, wholesale, all that type of stuff, it's going to impact the bottom line when it comes to the consumer's price at the till, at the cash register. And I don't know if they're just trolling the cannabis community, but they're saying that the tax increase could generate $420 million. Wink, wink, 420. Ooh, we got to pay more. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. But according to this, and I quote, after much hand-wringing and consternation from lawmakers who fear the detrimental effects of Michigan's cannabis industry, the Michigan Senate voted early Friday morning by a thin margin to pass a 24% wholesale tax on products related to the good herbs sold in the state. The measure is estimated to raise $420 million in new revenue to fund road repairs and construction in the new fiscal year. A key component of the budget deal reached by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and the people in the industry are not happy, and they actually warned that a 24% tax could kill the industry.
Detroit's cannabis industry is fighting back. The state is floating a new 24% wholesale tax on marijuana to pay for the roads. This is on top of an already high retail price, and owners are warning if this goes through, many shops will simply not make it. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm Ty Steele.
I'm Kimberly Gill. Michigan's cannabis industry is huge, bringing in billions for the state. Data from the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency shows last year the state gathered more than $10 billion from recreational and medical marijuana sales. Marijuana sales already face a 6% sales tax and a 10% excise tax for recreational marijuana.
Yeah, this new bill would keep those in place and add a 24% wholesale tax. That's something businesses would have to pay when they buy products from distributors. Victor Williams spent the night at a forum with the Detroit Cannabis Industry Association. Victor, cannabis owners argue this new tax could push customers right back to the black market.
You know, that's totally correct. You know, at this point, the people that we spoke to, they're saying that this is something they definitely don't want to see. So take a listen for yourself.
This tax right here they trying to impose is going to shake up the whole industry.
Smokers may have to spend a little more to keep that spark going when it comes down to marijuana if a certain bill passes.
To put this tax on us as a consumer, when we already generate more revenue than the alcohol industry, is ridiculous.
House Bill 4951 is a proposal that would place a 24% wholesale tax on Michigan's cannabis industry. We're talking about businesses, jobs, and equity licensees all rolled up into one, with the money going towards highway repairs. That's on top of the 16% tax they're already paying,
and not be paying taxes.
40%.
6% sales tax and a 10% excise tax.
You gotta be getting taxed, man.
So you guys see how lawmakers can push these things. They tell you, oh, it's just a small increase. It's just from 16 to 24. Mind you, that is a large increase. But then they don't tell you that those taxes are being stacked. And when you look at your bill at the end of the day, you're paying up to 40% in taxes. That's absolutely mind-blowing. Now, I want to show you guys what some of those Michigan lawmakers have to say about this tax and also what they're actually using some of those taxes for, because we know they're claiming to use it to fix the roads. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or just buy us a cup of coffee. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL, it works on the bundle and the beans.
Using pots for potholes is sparking controversy inside the state capitol. Our state capitol reporter Alana Johnson breaking down how a vote on a marijuana tax could stall the entire state budget process. When Republican Speaker of the House Matt Hall was asked if Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks couldn't get enough votes for the marijuana tax for roads, Hall warned the consequences could be serious.
Well, then the government will shut down.
The proposed 24% wholesale tax on marijuana could bring the state $420 million a year, money going directly to funding road projects.
24% we thought was a better solution to find that balance between, you know, what will raise the revenue needed for the roads and what will not decimate the industry.
Now, thankfully, folks in the industry, patients, consumers, business owners, all of them came out in opposition to this proposed tax hike. And I'm going to show you guys that in a bit because it's beautiful. But before we do, I want to show you guys what some of these places are in fact using the tax revenue for, things like welcome signs.
As new as 6 communities across Michigan have marijuana dispensaries, and with legal weed comes taxes. According to the Michigan Department of Treasury, more than $87 million was distributed among nearly 270 municipalities and counties across the state from last year's sales. TV5's Zane O'Mara shows us how the city of Davison is using its share to say hi.
Soon, signs like this one welcoming people into Davison will be switched out with new ones, all paid for by the city's marijuana tax revenue.
Instead of just throwing that money into something else and into the general fund, it's like we're gonna show you a difference in the community with this money.
A new welcome in the works for the city of Davison. Davison City Council approving the use of marijuana tax revenue for new signage at the north, south, east, and western city limits.
The ones we have now are, you know, a little old and outdated, and the one that we have at the south end is a little small and gets unnoticed.
So you guys heard it there for yourselves, using some of the tax revenue to upgrade and update some of these signs. Now, the signage may not necessarily be the best. You guys can see this one is a little bit old, and the other one that they showed us is maybe a little bit small according to what they said. But the fact is, they told us in the beginning it's going to be used for the roads. So why is it now being said that they're using it for the signs? Otherwise, it's just going to go back into the general fund.
Instead of just throwing that money into something else and into the general fund, this probably would not have been on our radar just yet to do these signs. So when you get that extra money, it's just extra money. It's taxed money that's coming in, but it's like a little bonus that we get. And I feel, and there's other people on council and administration feel that, let's throw this money back out there instead of just throwing it in over here.
Now, this guy sort of reminds me of what Governor Polis wanted to do over in Colorado, where he was going to spend tons of taxpayer dollars to build a massive bridge outside of the Capitol that no one asked for, but they were going to have to pay for. Meanwhile, the roads were in a complete mess, and people are still asking, why not using the taxes to fix the potholes? Now, some folks may be behind upgrading the signs and definitely fixing the roads, but increasing taxes and then saying, oh, we're just going to use this money for some of our pet projects, that can definitely piss some people off. And that's exactly what happened, because a lot of folks actually stood up against that tax hike down at the Capitol. Check it out.
Outside the state capitol, supporters of the cannabis industry gathered to fight a proposed 24% tax on marijuana.
We're a community. We stand together. We stick together. We all are very passionate about what we do. We're very passionate about our people.
The House approved this tax last week. Now it's up to the Senate to decide. The money from this tax would help pay for road repairs.
The impact is going to be really huge. I mean, right now the margins are slim as they are already, and I don't think they really know how thin the margins are. And so Michigan's a volume state. If you take away our ability to push volume in this state, it's going to cripple, completely flatten our industry.
Inside the Capitol, members of the Michigan Laborers District Council are pushing lawmakers to keep road funding a top priority.
We're here today just to talk with legislators and remind folks of the importance of executing the agreed-upon deal between the legislative leadership and the governor on the $1.85 billion road funding plan.
So here's the problem, guys. They're always taxing the good herb. They're saying it's going to be used for tons of reasons, such as road work, and the roads are not being fixed. I mean, have a look at them. It looks absolutely crazy. My homie Rob from COTV said the roads in Michigan are not great. So here's the kicker. Where is the money going then? You guys are now increasing the taxes once again and saying we're still using it to fix the roads, while certain counties and cities are using it for pet projects like upgrading signs. So the truth is, you gotta follow the money, guys. Now, as if that story was not crazy enough, we also got news that an American basketball player faces potential death penalty over medical herb arrest in Indonesia. Now, this story is completely crazy, and it shows how things can really differ across jurisdictions.
New tonight, a former Utah State basketball player is facing drug charges in Indonesia and could be facing a death sentence. 34-year-old Dallas native Jared Shaw was arrested in Jakarta last week. Police say he tried to smuggle drugs into the country after they found more than 100 pieces of THC-laced cannabis candies in his apartment. According to Indonesian officials, Shaw could receive a life sentence or even the death penalty if he's convicted. Shaw has spent the last 3 years in the country playing basketball for the Indonesian Basketball Association. His team says his contract has now been terminated. Shaw played college basketball here in the U.S. at Oklahoma State and at Utah State between 2009 and 2014.
So again, guys, this is absolutely crazy. And Shaw, who was a basketball player, a professional basketball player, he was found with gummies, edibles. And in this situation, he's actually was playing internationally for a team, and he helped secure victory in the 2023 Indonesian Basketball League. And he was arrested, and these gummies were found at his home, at his private residence. Now, here's the thing, guys. Indonesia has extremely punitive drug laws. They're really strict, and the crime carries the possibility of capital punishment. And even in this situation, you guys can see the death penalty is being touted. Now, Shaw conceded in an interview with The Guardian that was published last Friday that he made a stupid mistake, but explained that he uses the good herb and these edibles to treat symptoms of his gastrointestinal issues. Now, the crazy thing is not like they found pounds and pounds of flour, but just a few edibles. And the thing is, he was arrested, and the arrest footage is pretty chilling. Check it out.
This is Jared Shaw from Dallas, calling for help as he is being arrested in Indonesia. His face blurred by the police taking the video. The 6'10" Carter High School and then Utah State player went undrafted in 2014, but found success overseas, most recently in the Indonesian Basketball League. until his arrest in Tangerang, Indonesia, just outside Jakarta.
So again, this clearly shows that despite many states in America legalizing the good herb, there are a lot of countries who still frown upon it or straight up will punish you for it. And in this situation, it's really unfortunate to see this happening, and I really hope that he does not get the death penalty for something as simple as the good herb. But let me know what you guys think about all that, because this story is absolutely crazy. Now, all that said, let me know what you guys think about everything that we discussed in today's show, from that crazy tax hike that's being proposed over in Michigan to the decision down in Florida that the cops can no longer search your car based off of smell of the good herb, and also what you guys think about the American basketball player that's potentially facing the death penalty over in Indonesia. Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below. In our next video, there's something that a lot of you guys would have probably heard about unless you're living under a rock, and that is the government shutdown. And we break down how the government shutdown can affect the cannabis community, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out because it's coming up right now.
Give it gas when I'm dipping competition, getting past, living fast, furious, staying on track, never worry when I'm spinning. Laughs better getting back, ride for my dog, alphabeted on us, you gon' get it back. Never split this pack. Whenever I witness cap, we ain't fucking with your fiction, facts, your conviction lacks. When I get up in my bag, I'ma spend, we ain't tripping off tax, clipping this tag, working on my wish list, cooking this cake. Let me flip this stack. You a flash in the pan, while you relaxing. I can't. My team finna pack the sedan, putting tracks in the sand, pushing my craft at the fan, got the people all clapping their hands, putting cash in my brand, keeping my octane high, my graded premium, not 8-9 or 8-7, and when I run across state line, I'm 9-1, I gun it, clock great time, my time come, disappearing in the dark horizon, way I cut turns, I'm as sharp as diamonds, got them on tilt like a car's alignment, this is raw refinement, not a hard assignment, I'ma give it gas, give it gas, bitch.